concerned that some houses are too close to the place.
Thank you. Jim Boyer, 2 minutes.
An interest throughout the 3rd District is the economy that influences and impacts everyone. I'll go back to the environmental concern that John addressed a minute ago. When the shoreline master plan was being debated, there was a controversy with the 30-foot buffers we have now and how much to increase them to protect the environment. Before the debate was finished, John said that he was set on 150-foot buffers. I went to our board and I suggested 50 feet. It would provide more environmental protection, and it would also address the needs and the concerns of property owners and protect them from having their houses fall under a non-conforming use category, which would be all up and down the coast, all up and down the streams and around the lakes. The board rejected that idea. The houses, the properties that lose tax value, the budget for the county does not change. The taxes for everyone else, the levy rates will go up to compensate for the reduction in prices along these waterfront areas. Number 2, think about this. We do this shoreline plan every 7 years. Moving from 30 feet to 50 feet now would not likely be the end of the earth in the next 7 years. However, it's going to greatly impact our entire county to live with the 150-foot buffers and deal with several litigation actions which are going to come that the county will have to spend taxpayer money to defend against. Is Ruth signaling me?
You've got 25 seconds to go.
25 seconds to go. So that the youth of our county all play in the Memorial Field. Last summer, at this time of year last year, our commissioners voted in the budget hearings, and it's stated in the budget narrative to decommission the field. 4 months later, it was rolled out as, oh my goodness, we're missing $65,000. Shortly after that was what John expressed, the saving of the timber, which cost us $45,000 in cash and lost timber cut sales of 173 plus. These are the things that impact our economy.
Thank you. Next question. What other solutions, not including cutting spending, would help solve county budget problems? John Austin.
It's easy to look at cutting budgets. And I think at a time like this, it's extremely important, as Mr. Boyer pointed out, that we're careful in whatever reductions we make in our budget. We're looking at, I was reminded of a cartoon that suggested, I think it was a cartoon referring to the Tea Party, and it showed people throwing things overboard. So instead of tea cases, what they were throwing overboard was Medicare, the services to children, Veterans Administration payments. We've gotten to the point now where we have cut things pretty much to the bone within this county. We have reduced significantly. If anyone looks at our budget, which is online, you'll see that in general there's been significant reductions throughout the county budget. There are 2 exceptions to that, and there's some things over which we have absolutely no control. One of those is responses to legal situations. We have a terrible situation in South Douglas County, which a family was murdered. In order for us to follow the Constitution, to see that the accused is given all the protections the Constitution requires, we had to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, not only to defend this person, required to do, but to prosecute the person, and to provide jail, and to provide for services in the jail, provide for health care for the person in the jail. And these are things we cannot cut. We cannot get rid of our assessor. We cannot get rid of our auditor. We have a large number of items in our county budget that are required, laid on us by the state.
All right, thank you. Jim Boyer.
I believe that sensible zoning and the ability to create jobs and expand business is what pumps up our tax base and aids our economy. That's the money we need to function. We've built a county. I guess I would say it seems to be an influence that comes from Port Townsend and starts to run countywide. that we can survive only on property taxes and grant funding. This is not correct. In budget management, in my corporate life, we got our best ideas from the people that worked within the corporation. Recently, our commissioners chose to join efforts to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for a consultant to show us how to save energy, I believe. I think the people that run our offices, staff our offices, use our facilities and our equipment every day probably have very good ideas of where we can conserve energy. I've heard it come from private citizens at several meetings in the past. So I believe our solutions are oftentimes better handled internally than bringing in outside people, especially when we're spending money at an exorbitant rate that we don't have today. We do a much better job by pumping our economy up and increasing our incoming tax flow. Thank you.
Diane Johnson.
I do think we have to be careful about cutting budgets. I'm a little concerned. As I looked at last year's budget, there were quite a few cuts made in staff hours, there were positions cut, and I was really quite surprised that it didn't make a bigger dent in the size of the budget. There still were $400,000 needed from reserves to balance the budget. And I talked to Judy Morris, who said that some of that had to do with mandated by the union contracts, cost of living and step increases in salaries. We aren't really going to get away from that sort of thing, I don't believe. I mean, it is a problem. Costs are going to go up even as we cut. So it may or may not work very well to do that. I believe that we should be investing every penny that we can find in infrastructure in the rural communities as well as in Port Townsend. Glen Cove needs development of infrastructure as well. They need increased electricity lines, apparently. I don't know very much about that, but I have heard that said, that they need some increase in power in order for businesses there to expand. We need more than just a person or two, though, per business. We need to be able to provide and start providing the infrastructure that businesses need. As I said earlier, things like sewer, things like additional water supply. And we may need to argue with DOE. We may need to stand up on our back feet and fight with them a little bit to get some of the water supply that we need for our rural areas in order to develop real jobs. And that, I agree with Jim, will bring in more money to our county.
Thank you. Does the county need more land zones for commercial and industrial use?
You better go to another question. Will you answer that one?
Well, you know, I kind of thought that got around there, but the next question has about the same thing. So I'll just go to the next question. Would you support increasing the maximum building size for commercial and industrial areas? Jim Boyer, you're up. 2 minutes.
No, absolutely. We have a manufacturer that's about to grow in leaps and bounds right now, Atlas Industries in Glen Cove, and they need the room to do it. And they're being recruited to move to other counties where they can have the building size that they need. They have right now 24 employees, and Dick Bothell told me, the CEO of the company, that they expect to be in need of 50 to 54 employees within 18 months. These are not $12 an hour jobs. Most of these guys are very skilled plasma welders. They make $40 and $50 an hour. These are the people that bring money into our community and keep it in our community. So I would be an advocate immediately of allowing them the necessary size they can have to do their business. Diane mentioned Glen Cove, and we're talking about county budget. Glen Cove is in the county. You will all hear a debate coming up soon that Glen Cove should be annexed into the city of Port Townsend. Immediately, we will lose about $180,000 a year in tax and business revenue if that happens. Further impact to our county. Another poor decision. I would oppose that one when it comes on the table.
Thank you. Diane?